Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's do this.
Seriously?
Yeah, later.
Oh, go yourself.
No.
No,
Baby.
go have fun if that's what you're gonna think. All right, bye.
Okay, I'm guessing that if I knew the whole history of their fights and of his jealousy and his attacks, that I would see Liz's behavior as justified and of what else are you going to do? And maybe even a good strategy of just like, I'm not going to deal with this shit. Like, I know where this is headed. See ya. So I think that's possibly true, because if this was the first time it happened, I'd be like, Liz, like, he's trying to ask questions. You should try to reassure him in this moment. But I don't think that this is the first time it's happened in the least.
Liz.
Okay, so if you're Ed, you should probably take some inventory and think, okay, what's going on with me right now? What did I see? Am I really justified? I just basically accused her. And what did I accuse her of? That she had a past relationship? So maybe it doesn't matter right now. This is our engagement. So that's maybe another factor, is for him, this is even more vulnerable for him, that he is having an engagement party. He is around all of his friends and, well, not his family, because his family didn't come, but that it feels more vulnerable to him. And so he's even more likely to get triggered and distorted.
The party's going so well until I see Liz's ex-coworker grab her by the arm. I thought it was romantic because when Liz and I broke up, she had told me that I had hurt her so bad that she would want to be with a woman. So I asked Liz about it, and...
Okay, so we're hearing a little bit more detail here, that he is saying that in one of the times that he broke up with her, one of the 8 times, that she said to him that, you know, he has hurt her so much that she might want to be with a woman or something. Does that mean, was she just saying some phrase, or is she actually bisexual? I don't know. But okay, so she said that thing and you saw something happened. And even if it's true, what's the difference? Even if she had dated a woman during one of your breaks, then that's not a problem, right? You dated other people during the breaks. So why, again, it's not just the questions, it's the attitude, it's the way he comes to her and the amount of times he does that, I'm guessing. And so that's why I think Liz is reacting that way.
She got upset and left.
It's done. It's done. He thinks that, like, I'm gonna sleep with a girl or a guy. Like, I can't even stay out past 11 p.m. without his permission.
Well, that's interesting. Who knows if she is just exaggerating or something for effect, but regardless, even if it's just kind of in that direction, that is upsetting to hear. And of course, if it's really that she needs his permission to be out past 11, then yikes, right? And we could absolutely see that. The more and more we watch this. So I'm reminded of when we watched with Rose, and maybe everyone else detected this and I just am obtuse, but I remember being really confused about his behavior. And because he comes across as so calm and cool and so superior and like he's not rattled. And it's harder to conceptualize him than it is maybe other people. Like even with Angela, when she'll become abusive, there will be these moments where she will cry and be like, I'm hurt, and tell us, I think, what's really going on inside of her, right? Whereas Ed would never do that. He would not. He would cry. I mean, well, there's that one moment that I remember feeling like, oh, I think this is what's going on inside of him, was when it was during one of those fights with Rose, and she had not come back to his hotel. Like he was waiting there for her, and she had completely abandoned him. Well, for good reasons. And he was crying in the hotel room. And remember, he's like he does that kind of cry. And he said something like, it's happening again, or no one will ever love me, or something like that. And so, but I think it's rarer. And For some reason, Angela is just easier to read for me anyway, but for Ed, he and that's one of the deceptions of people who have this kind of personality. I don't know if he has the kind of personality I think he does, but for the people that do, they are very, very good at not revealing their vulnerability and their quote-unquote weaknesses. They see them as weaknesses, but they're not. And they learned that very early in life. They're even good at convincing themselves that they don't have any of these feelings and coming across like nothing rattles them and everything's fine. So anyway, she's saying that she doesn't have permission. She's also, let's rewind it because she said a couple things.
And she got upset and left.
It's done. It's done. He thinks that, like, I'm going to sleep with a girl or guy.
Oh, I didn't catch that. So she was saying, it's done. He thinks I'm going to sleep with some effing guy or effing girl. Now, another thing to point out, and I think that is absolutely true, and she knows that through experience way more than we've seen. And another thing to point out is that why is she running down the street? And I think it's because she knows that the production, along with Ed, will try to suck her back in to a conversation, and she doesn't want to have that conversation because it'll end up being abusive to her. And she's been down that road before. And so out of panic or self-preservation, she can't ask for a car or maybe even get in her own car because then she knows the production team will find a way to corral her more, because she's not only running away from Ed, she's running away from the production team, and she's telling the production team, because I'm guessing that's one of the producers, unless she's just yammering at some random stranger on the sidewalk, that which is not likely. So she's telling the producer, I'm done. And I think she's saying, like, get away from me. I don't want to do this right now, which is troubles. I don't know if that's what's happening, but you just have to wonder about the ethics of the TV crew.
Like, I can't even stay out past 11 p.m. without his permission. I'm done. He's a piece of he's so insecure. He doesn't believe in himself, which is the most pathetic piece of that I've ever known.
Yeah, I think this is all a reaction to dozens, maybe hundreds of moments where he has done this. And the first 50 times he did it, she endured it and stuck with it and tried to make it better. But by the 100th time, as soon as she hears that tone in his voice, and for you who have been abused presently or in the past, you know the vibe that you get from your abuser. You're very attuned to it because your body needs to be, because your life might depend on it, or at least your well-being depends on it. And so you'll be able to hear that tone, like, oh, I know where this is headed, and I can never manage to turn it around. And so my only option is to run, is to get away. This might be her best option, not only to get away from Ed, but also from the production crew, because Ed's not chasing her. Ed's stationary. She's running away from the production crew right now, I think.
I'm pissed, embarrassed, and I'm worried about Liz. So then I just went back because we had all of our stuff. I had to close out the tab. All I knew is Liz went that way.
So I'm going to take a guess and say he's going to frame this as Liz is being immature, that she is acting like a child. So let's see what happens.
I think that Liz is drunk, and she's not thinking. So I'm trying to call Liz. She's not picking up the phone.
So that's a shade in that direction, at least in my opinion. Well, okay, she's drunk and she doesn't know what she's doing. Instead of, I wonder if I'm the reason why this is happening, that my constant jealousy and superior narcissistic self-centered assuredness of her infidelity is part of the problem. The facial expressions I have, and the many times that I have abused her because I have thought that she was cheating on me when she might not have ever even come close to cheating on him. In fact, I would guess that's true. Now, I don't know that, but I'm just going to take a guess to say we would have heard something from Ed if there were reasons to believe that she would cheat. We've never heard that.
I'm worried about her safety. That's all I'm worried about. But This is showing me that we have too many issues that aren't resolved before we can get married.
Yes, I think that's probably wise, but the issues are with Ed in terms of I can never know what's really happening. I always can only speculate based on what the show deems to show us. So I know the assessment process well enough to know that I can't really know what's happening. So, but in terms of what's being presented, the issue is purely his issue, as far as I can tell. So hopefully he can identify that. He probably won't. But I think he sees it as, when he phrases it that way, like, we have so many issues that make it so we can't get married. I think he completely frames it as she has a problem and she has to change.
You know what? His mom wins, Rich wins, his daughter wins.
Yeah. Can't they just let her be? Just let her. Plus, like, if you're the production, maybe it happened, but if you're the production team, just be like, hey, we can't just let you wander off into the night by yourself. So how about you call a car and we'll wait, and then you can go wherever you want to go, obviously, and then, you know, we won't bug you anymore. But anyway, so she is now thinking I think she's thinking it's over now, which really tells me how relentless this pattern has probably been. Because Liz is, I think, extremely forgiving for the most part. And for her to, at the first sign, because it was very quick what he said, but I think was very indicative of patterns that she's been in before with him. So very quickly, she's like, I'm done. And she just bolts, maybe out of absolute fear and terror of just like, you know, it kind of probably did have that feeling. And now she's thinking, it's over. I'm done. This is it. I can't do this. And she's thinking, all these people who are against us, they win. It's an interesting thing to think about, that maybe part of her doggedness to stay in the relationship was to show them or something. I don't know. And now she's crying. It's rough. This is a really sad, difficult moment for her.
My family's in town. They say, oh, are you really going to take care of him? He's older than you. Are you really going to take care of him? I would 100% take care of him, but like, if I were to be fragile tomorrow, I don't think he would take care of me in the way that I would take care of him, and that's what sucks.
Yeah, that's one of the things to think about with all of your relationships is reciprocity. And if you have been abused, there's a good chance, without a lot of therapy and going on a campaign to reverse the trend, maybe all of your relationships are not reciprocal and mutual. And that's one of the questions you can ask yourself is, okay, I would 100% be there for them if they were suffering in this way. I know that, and I have been. But if I was, I don't know if they would be there for me. In fact, I know that they wouldn't, because I was going through something and they were not there for me. That's another thing to think about in terms of your relationships, is to make sure that you are mutual and reciprocal in your relationships. Because depending on your personality and certain traits you might have, you might actually, not because you're abusive, but because you don't put the effort and value, or maybe you get too distracted with work or other kinds of things to know, in more disengaged families and more avoidantly attached people are, prone to this, of really making sure you notice that other people have needs and that you can actually help them, and that you should. You want to, because you want to, but you might not engage with that feeling on the inside, and you might actually have to divide. I've worked with clients who were avoidantly attached, who were working on this, and prior to them having enough corrective experiences so that they have earned security, they might have measures in place to remind them. They might have to have a calendar reminder to check in with someone, or on their to-do list, they might have a little thing there that says something like, make sure you think about the people in your life and what issues they might be going through that you might be able, at the very least, to acknowledge and to care about. Like there might be a thing on there, it's like, my friend is going through a significant loss in their life. Make sure that you reach out to them, and show that you care, or something like that. Because not that you don't want to, but because the way, the reason, the things you went through had oriented your life more inward and not noticing opportunities for other, if you have a problem, you actually don't signal it to other people. You're oriented in such a way of everyone is an island, and that is just not functional. Everyone is not an island. We can't be islands. And you might have people in your life who don't think of themselves as islands and notice when you're not there. You will islandize them. So she's recognizing right now, it's just like, my family asked me, would I be there for him if he started to get old and needed help? Was 100%. I was absolutely willing to do that. But, when I think about it, I don't think he would be there for me in that way.
He's calling right now. Ed.
Done. Over it.
Liz.
You see that? Do you notice that? That the producer is saying, Ed is calling right now, because I think Ed was trying to call her, but she wasn't answering the phone. So Ed called the producer, and he's like, oh, Ed's calling right now. Liz, Ed's calling, trying to engage, not allowing her own autonomy in the situation, maybe even preying on her susceptibility to not noticing her own needs and not being able to advocate for them. And so, hey, Liz, get on the phone, because it's TV gold if you can get them to interact. And then she says, I don't care. Let's rewind.
He's calling right now. Ed.
Done. Over it.
Liz. Good night.
Do you want to talk to him?
So now she's going to talk to him, and who knows what she would say, but we do have to think about, when we're analyzing or conceptualizing the people on the show, that it's not just the people on the show. Of course, they have their family and friends that we might not have much data on. Sometimes there are family members, significant family members, who we never see and they don't even reference because they don't want to be on the show, and they're a major part of the individual's lives. But not only that system is important, and the cultural system at large, but also the TV show system, that the individuals, from my understanding, the producers and even the camera people, the sound people, will end up bonding quite a bit with the cast members. And so they also play a role in this, the triangulation, the pressure that they might put. They might even facilitate conversations between the two of them or something, which is what's happening right now. Liz would not be stopping and talking to Ed right now if it weren't for the producers, I think, at the very least, putting subtle, if not overt, pressure on her to talk with him. Just imagine that you're trying to get away, and they just keep badgering you, and then they're finally like, hey, he's on the phone right now, and you're just like, okay, fine. So I don't know exactly what to say about that, because of course the show isn't interested in turning the camera around on themselves, and I'm not saying that they're supposed to be hated by the audience, but when we're thinking about why things are happening the way that they are, considering the crew as a part of the emotional system when they are present, and maybe even when they're not, because just imagine that some of your biggest fights you've ever had with your partner from the minute you met them until present day were, half the time there was this crew that well, that you joke around with in between situations. They're always there. They're there. You might even be crying on their shoulder or something, and that'd be interesting, right? That would be an interesting part of the emotional life and the emotional world of your relationship. So I don't know what to say about that, because I don't have any data, but it is just something to consider. All right, well, that was that episode in which I reacted to that episode. Let me know what you think below in the comment section. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.